recently I've been thinking about getting back into Warhammer 40,000 and other miniatures war games. And as I've looked into this stuff, I've seen people complain that they are worried that Games Workshop, that makes Warhammer 40,000 among other games, is going to cave to SJW pressure and make Warhammer 40,000 the game about the grim darkness of the future where there is only war, and turn it into an inclusive feminist game. Now, I'm not worried that Games Workshop is going to Kiev, and the main reason I say that is because Games Workshop does what the hell it likes and has done this for close to 20 years now. I got into the hobby around the end of 2nd edition. It was the transition to 3rd edition. And, you know, that was the time of Gorka Morka, which I got for cheap, and Necromunda and stuff like that. And since then, there have been fans complaining about everything, whether it's a change in the rules or whether they've brought out some new thing that they don't like, or even they haven't brought out a thing that they do like they've not brought out an updated version of specific rules, whether it's Blood Bowl, Space Hulk, Battlefield Gothic, Necromunda, you know, oh, we haven't got a new Dark Eldar Codex yet, oh, we haven't got a new whatever Codex yet. It doesn't matter. There's always people complaining about something, and for 20 years, GWs went, and just done its own thing and been successful doing that. So why is Games Workshop now starting to change? They are now actually starting to talk to their fans. They're starting to put out box sets that are a reasonable deal now. They're doing a lot of things that Games Workshop hasn't really done for years. And I think the reason they are changing is not because they're now listening to their fans. I think they're changing because of the competition. From what I understand, the X-Wing game by Fantasy Flight is doing really well, to the point where they have started to out-earn Games Workshop on occasion, which is a big deal because, at least in Britain, Games Workshop is the only game in town, essentially. And I don't know about America and other countries, but I've heard people talking about companies like Privateer Press and Weird Games with their Malifaux game. I've heard about Flames of War and Infinity, and once upon a time, you never heard about this stuff. It was Games Workshop or nothing, basically. It was like in modelling, there was only Games Workshop and Airfix, and that was pretty much it, really. I mean, there was probably other companies doing niche things here and there, but, you know, that was it. Your miniatures game was probably done by Games Workshop, and if you were modelling, you were probably either doing GW stuff or Airfix stuff. But nowadays, there's loads of companies doing this stuff and finding success doing it. Another thing is who's doing the complaining. I keep hearing about two different names. Feminist 40K, which seems to be a Facebook group, and Bell of Lost Souls, which I had heard about in bits and pieces before, but they seem to be like a fan blog or something. And looking at them now, they seem to be the Kotaku of miniatures games. So saying that these groups somehow have influence over Games Workshop is kind of like saying Kotaku is dictating the direction that CD Projekt Red is going to take. I just don't buy it somehow. I know I've said this a bunch, but Games Workshop does what it likes, and it doesn't care what its fans think. Probably because they know that the fans are just going to buy them anyway, regardless of all the complaining. Now, if you come from a computer game background, you're probably used to big companies being like the big AAA publishers. Companies like EA, Activision, and Ubisoft, who seem to only care about their next quarter reports and damn everything else, and thus will pander to social justice because social justice promises to get them more money if they suddenly support like whatever cause or whatever. Now, Games Workshop doesn't work like that. I heard a story, don't know if this is true, that one of their artists rode a company motorbike to and from work. They changed company policy so that the company had to get rid of the motorbike. But the guy still wanted to ride his motorbike, so they made a deal where they sold him the motorbike for £1. And there we go. He still got to keep his company motorbike, and the company got to keep their artist and keep within the new company policy. Everybody wins. This was a company that they would put a huge statue in their car park because why would you not want a 30-foot Space Marine standing at the entrance of your company? Because that's cool, right? They have a pub There is a pub in the Warhammer lore called like Buggerman's Brewery, and it's a real place that they've built inside like Warhammer HQ. So this isn't the kind of company where there's a bunch of suits and ties going, oh, we could get like 10% on our quarterly earnings if we listen to this crazy woman over here. No, they're not that kind of company. And as I've hammered home into the ground, whatever metaphors. But the point is, Games Workshop, they haven't listened to their fans for 20 years. They are only changing the way they do things because competition is now starting to pose a potential threat to them. But even then, it's not like they're doing everything the fans demand. Because, in fact, they're still doing things that are annoying their fans, like Age of Sigmar. You've got a lot of old schoolers who are like, oh, well, they've ruined Warhammer Fantasy forever, I'm not playing it. Which is the typical thing that I mentioned, I've been hearing this stuff for 20 years, and so has Games Workshop, and they don't care, because they want to go in this direction. That's the direction that they're going to go in, and you're either in or you're out. But yeah, I don't think Games Workshop is going to cave to SJWs. And if they do, I'll be quite surprised by that. Thanks for watching. Bye!